Right now, we are witnessing yet another crash out from Drake, and it seems like this time around, as Drake has already tried so many different strategies to earn respect back from people and failed, which have ranged from dropping music, to sending out more subliminal disses at his enemies, to even just showing up on them in person, which he did laughably when he tried to intimidate DeMar DeRozan. When it comes to strategies to save his career, it seems like Drake is all out of ideas, as he is not even finding new ways to claim the title of the most pathetic rapper in the game right now, and instead, at this moment, he is just eating up the same old things that he has done before and is trying them yet again. Which, while this strategy in of itself just shows a fundamental lapse in judgment and decision making, which considering how Drake's 2024 has went as a whole, just shouldn't be a surprise, somehow the execution of this all on Drake's end is even more laughable than the idea is in the first place. As what Drake has done now is that as the rap game has been heating up, and from people like Tyler the Creator to J. Cole, more MCs have been outside and making noise for whatever projects they have been showing the world. Drake has tried to put the spotlight back on him by dropping a social media post where he showed off his new hair, which the fact that this is even a headline is sad, and just shows how depraved of any depth anything Drake has to offer beyond the surface really is. And now before we look at what Drake did that's somehow even lamer than this, be sure to leave a like on this video and make sure you are subscribed, it helps me out a ton. But now what's so pathetic about what Drake did here is the caption of this post, which first has Drake referencing the label he is from, which has taken so much away from him because of awful contracts that are written against his favor in Cash Money Records. And then Drake compares himself to Lil Wayne when he had dreads, which while Drake putting himself in the same sentence right now as prime Lil Wayne is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I guess it's good for Drake that he's trying to unify with the only rapper who even has the slightest chance of helping him in this moment in time. And now closing this post out and what is supposed to be a clear message that he is trying to send to his rivals, and specifically Kendrick Lamar once again, is the final line in this post which says, "I passed up on offers you would have passed out over." And now as Drake posted a screenshot from Rush Hour in this post, which if we remember that is the film where the Kung Fu Kenny character comes from, it's clear that Drake is once again, and for some reason, trying to taunt and act like he is above Kendrick Lamar, and now with the caption, this seems to be a direct reference to the Super Bowl, which Kendrick is of course playing. And now in more of an in-your-face fashion than we have ever seen, Drake is trying to convince us that he has passed up on playing the biggest event in music, and again is acting like while this is a casual thing for him that he just didn't want to do. That it's this thing that Kendrick Lamar, for example, is just in awe about, and again, while this is already ignoring the fact that Kendrick has already played the Super Bowl in the past, Drake coming with this angle like he is bigger and better than the Super Bowl, which is an event that no single artist, or really person for that matter, is bigger than. Just look at the viewership to back it up. Overall, this mindset is just weird and shows Drake's disconnect from the culture. But now what makes all of this situation even funnier is that in this moment where he is trying to be intimidating and make some sort of noise so that people will just look at him without laughing again, Kendrick Lamar has gotten the best of him without even knowing it yet, because we also found out right when Drake made this post that apparently in the industry something major is about to happen on Kendrick Lamar's new album. As beyond everything we have already heard, now reports are telling us that none other than Taylor Swift is going to be featured on this upcoming record. And now while this claim is wild, and usually with reports like these, we should just all laugh and look the other way, this was reported by an established and decently respected artist in the industry in DJ Snake. And I mean, this is just so random that there is really no way that this man has not heard actual conversations about this happening, because seriously, when we look at the music and audience that DJ Snake creates for, these artists do not involve him and the type of music he creates whatsoever, and he has absolutely nothing to gain from saying this. And now overall, when we look at this in conjunction with the fact that 2 of the 5 solo tracks Kendrick Lamar released this year were produced by Swift's go-to collaborator in Jack Antonoff, as he has production credits on both 616 in LA and on Kendrick's mysterious and cryptic Black Air Forces cut. I mean, when we look at the fact that the most elusive and exclusive artist in really all of music right now has been in the studio and working on material with the man who, for over everything he has ever done, is renowned for his long list of hits and collabs that he has produced and written with Swift over the years. In a way, it should not be too shocking that a Kendrick and Taylor collab has been in the works, and that it very well could be coming. But now what I find more interesting about all of this is that now as it's said to be a part of Kendrick's new album, This is really where the conversation gets more interesting because from what we know here, and from what everything has been telling us, Kendrick is not going to fully cross into pop music like he did with Swift over a decade ago. Because with this solo album from Kendrick, especially with the concept and themes he has already been telling us this entire chapter of his career are going to be about, going into the pop lane would pretty much contradict everything he has been doing in this era, almost no matter how he frames it. And really what I think is going to happen here, and in order to make sure that Drake's disses just keep aging worse and worse, is that we're going to see Swift here in a fashion like we have never before, as I think she will either have some sort of a producing or writing credit on this album, because let's remember, before she became the Taylor Swift she is today, she used to actually play the guitar on a lot of her officially recorded music. And on top of this, with Antonoff's production skills, which he has managed to show that no matter how you feel about the pop stuff he puts out, he was able to create the sound of a record like 616 in LA masterfully. All in all, knowing all of this, despite the concerns and despite the way Drake stans may try to run with this narrative and try to make Kendrick look pathetic, which I think if you really think this, you're just missing the point, everything else is telling us that these artists would knock it out of the park together. And maybe even Taylor will just have some calm backing vocals on this album, or maybe even a hook, which in the right and hip-hop centered environment. I think it could work if it knows its role and just works properly into a track, but I think also, we can't count out the possibility of seeing a brief skit or vocal interlude from Taylor here, and while it's just too early and we don't know enough to say anything else beyond this point, what's clear is that while Kendrick and Swift have shown respect for one another over the years, and that even in this beef with Drake in of itself, Swift's team did help Kendrick take a W in such a big and monumental moment in hip-hop that we have never seen before. Kendrick now collabing with the artist who right before everything went down in the way that ruined Drake was using to taunt Kendrick about being scared of him and having to follow her rules on how to release music. Ultimately, before we can even hear how this sounds, narratively this would just be the greatest troll on Kendrick's end to Drake, because once again, he would just be making whatever Drake said age like milk by putting Swift within a musical environment of his that is so natural and yet is able to harvest her name and star power and just send the message to the industry of what's going on, and especially to Drake of all people. And at this point, with so much already moving against Drake and his pathetic disses on social media like the one we just saw not working whatsoever, I think this is just another tiny yet effective and would be a definite viral moment that will continue to push this downfall Drake is on further and further. And so knowing all of this and seeing this possibility of a new Taylor and Kendrick collab being a real thing, beyond hip-hop and what this moment has represented in the culture, if who is the biggest artist on the planet right now, in terms of the numbers they put up co-signs what Kendrick has been doing and helps make Drake just look like a more pathetic and miserable figure who deserves to be shunned from not just rap but all of music, no matter how they go about this, it is really going to send waves throughout the entire industry about maybe how despised Drake has been by all of his peers for years, and maybe it will crack a can of worms open that will span much bigger than just rap about all of the problems he has caused in the larger industry. Which would just be absolutely insane, and really seems like if Taylor is going to go as far to co-sign Kendrick directly, knowing how powerful her brand and how calculated every decision she makes is, because there is so much at stake, I think there's a very real chance that something like this could happen. But at this point, going that far is just speculation, and we do not have anywhere near enough info to see if that is really a possibility. That just in terms of the rabbit hole of Drake enemies going so deep that even pop stars don't like him for whatever reason that may be. But no matter what, all in all, what's clear with these reports and with everything that we know that has already happened is that Kendrick Lamar is in the studio working while Drake is somewhere pouting and spiraling out more and more. And now beyond just having the grip of hip hop in his hand at the moment, Kendrick seemingly has the biggest artist on the planet lighting up for him as well, as if Swift and her go-to producer are eager to contribute to his latest vision. And now even in a way, if Beyonce is opening up for Kendrick's Super Bowl halftime show by doing the NFL's halftime show on Christmas Day. Once again, and no matter what ridiculous claims Drake and his desperate fans have tried to make, Kendrick Lamar has pushed the boundaries forward in rap music once again in terms of the sheer power that an MC can hold. And while Kendrick is showing that the biggest brands in music will line up for him, meanwhile with Drake, while this is not a new story for him at this point, all he is doing is demonstrating just how pathetic a rapper can be when they are in the game for all the wrong reasons. And so now with all this said, let me know. What do you think about this latest blip in the downfall of Drake and on the road to Kendrick Lamar's upcoming album? And how do you think this collab between Taylor Swift and Kendrick is going to end up being? Now for me personally, this and this don't really correlate together musically, but in all honesty, at this point in time, Kendrick Lamar is someone like Tyler the Creator. And what I mean by that is that if you tell me they are getting in the studio with someone to put on their album, no matter how you may feel about that artist and the music they put out, If you know that they're linking up with them, you should assume that they're going to use them in a way that gets the best out of their talents and will genuinely play into the vision and goal of whatever they are trying to make masterfully. So for that reason, I think whatever this collab is going to end up sounding like will deliver. And now, if you have made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now, if you want to see how also because of the Super Bowl and because of how Drake has just acted because his biggest rival is playing in music's biggest event, Jay-Z, who is in charge of this whole thing, is getting ready to diss and speak about Drake and call him out once and for all, check out the suggested video.